Hey everybody, Al Fragnoli, Legal Leaders. Unfortunately, Zach Sooty was unable to join us tonight. Our guest tonight is actor and stuntman Bobby Laenen. Bobby, thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me, Al. I appreciate it, man.
Well, we're excited to have you on today. I've known you and your family for a very long time. Been following your career and your background, so I'm excited to talk to you a little bit. As we talked about earlier, normally the podcast we typically bring on sports industry professionals, but Zach and I always talk about leadership and people that are really pursuing their passion. And I know that you love what you do, and so that's why we're excited to talk to you today. A little bit about what it is you do, your background, and how people can get into an industry that they absolutely love. So we're going to dive right into the questions, Bobby. The first one that we have for you today is just talk to us a little bit about your journey and what ultimately got you into acting.
Yeah. So I think it all started when I was younger. My mom, she owned a dance studio growing up. She opened it in 1991. That's the year I was born. And she had it for about 12 years. Well, maybe a little bit more than 12 years. But yeah, we grew up entertaining. I mean, that's like what our family did. We danced, and my father owned a company, so he was working that, and we'd go to dance class, and we just kind of had that niche in our family where we just always wanted to do something. And I think what ultimately really sparked movies was growing up, we were right in the progression of technology, where we started making little just films of skateboarding and all that kind of stuff with the big VHS recorder that we had. And then it progressed to the high 8 video cameras. And then it went so fast into the SD card, like mini DV camcorder. So we had this progression of technology that we got so excited. We're like, whoa, we should just make movies, and we would just make movies, all our friends and I, all the time growing up. And our family went to Universal Studios in Hollywood, or in Florida one year. We were down in Florida on vacation. We went to Universal Studios, and I remember there was the Indiana Jones live action stunt show. And I was always a daredevil growing up. My dad was a daredevil. It was like in our blood. So I was super excited. Indiana Jones was my favorite. And we went and saw the show. And as we walked out of the show, I mean, I was like, oh, that's it. I want to do that. I want to either work on these shows or be in movies, whatever I can do to do it. And that's all I focused on growing up. Of course I wanted to be a cop. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to be all different kinds of things. But at the end of the day, what was the most fun and what I was very good at naturally was making movies, So as I got older, I think I was 17 or 18 when I found out a friend of ours was a producer on this indie feature being made in Detroit. And she said, come out, audition, and we'll see if we can get you on the movie. And so I went, auditioned, and I ended up playing a gas station cashier. So it was my first role. My name was Bert. It was 3 lines in a movie at 17 or 18 years old. And at the time, Michigan's industry, the movie industry, was booming. We had our tax incentive. A ton of huge movies were being made. So the one day I was driving to a music video shoot and driving through Mount Clemens. And I look down the side street and I see these cranes, gigantic cranes and paratroopers. They were sailing out of the sky on big cables and all this stuff. And I was like, oh boy, I better check this out. So I ended up calling the music video I was supposed to go to. I said, hey, I'm not going to make it. And I did some research before I, went and saw what was going on. So I found out this guy's name. His name was Chris O'Hara. He was the stunt coordinator on Red Dawn. What I found out later was the movie. And I ended up walking onto set and walking right up to Chris O'Hara. And I said, hey, I'm an actor and a stuntman, live right down the street. What can I do? And immediately he took me right under his wing and he said, come on and work, show me what you got. So for a month and a half, I apprenticed with the Red Dawn stunt team. And that was a huge foot in the door for me, just to get a instantly thrown in the fire experience about what the industry actually is, how huge it is, how intense it is, and how amazing it is. I mean, it just, the more I saw things and experienced things, it just grew my interest to get into it more and more. Um, so that's all I did. I would just hustle. I'd call whoever I could call and say, "Hey, I want to be in the movie," and I would go be an extra. And then the second day I was an extra, I would talk to the right person and say, "Hey, give me a chance to do this." Then I would do that, and I would just learn. Every day I was surrounded by 1,000 people being extras, and every one of them is talking and they're laughing and taking pictures, and I was just focused. I was like learning everything I could, soaking up as much information as I could from the people that I knew were important. And that got me really good opportunities, because when they would turn around and say, "Hey, I need this," I was the guy watching. You know what I mean? That was like a huge step for me, was just realizing that I needed to learn, to progress in the industry. And then it just grew from there. I took a hiatus for a bit, with the bar. Our family opened a bar. My dad started getting sick. So I took a little hiatus when we opened that place. And then, after a few years, I started branching out and getting back into it. And about 2016, 2017, I ended up getting on Ninja Warrior, actually. And I auditioned for a feature, got one of the lead roles in a feature in Michigan. And it's kind of just snowballed since there. And I just can continue to grow as much as I can every day and learn whatever I can and meet amazing people who have offered me such great opportunities. And that's sort of where I'm at right now, is just working my butt off, doing whatever I can to keep going.
That's awesome. That's a fantastic journey that you've had so far in your career there. Um, you mentioned early on as a kid wanting to make movies and doing stuff with your friends. Is there a particular person in your life that maybe motivated or inspired you to pursue that passion and really push getting into the acting industry? And is there maybe a mentor in your life in the movie industry that you rely on heavily?
As far as when I was younger, I mean, I knew nobody in the movie industry. I knew nobody who made movies or anything like that. Like I said, I was more surrounded by entertainment. You know, my mom, she was friends with a lot of people in New York on Broadway. My mom was on Broadway. So that was probably the sparked interest, to where a lot of actors start on Broadway and then they develop into movies, you know. So that was always a pipe dream of mine, that maybe I'll go to Broadway, you know, and go from there. But as far as like a singular person, I think it was more just the atmosphere that got me excited about it. And then, as funny as it is, there was a TV show, back in the day, called The Adventures of Super Dave. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it was about an Evil Knievel type stuntman, and he was just awful. He had all these amazing stunts he would do, but every stunt he did, he would fail. Like, it was a hilarious comedy show about this stunt guy who just was really bad at doing stunts. And I did everything I could to be like Super Dave. I would make my own little videos, and that's sort of what started making movies, you know. And then I would just say, "Oh, grab some toy guns and we'll, you know, start making movies." Um, so yeah, like I said, I think it's more the atmosphere that got me into it. But now that I'm in the industry a lot more, when I was first really starting to take off and I'm meeting people, especially in Michigan, there is definitely one person that I look up to and I just connect with on such a human based level. And I'll get into this when I'm talking about it, because, you know, the movie industry has such a tattered and very divided, view on how people are, you know, when they're in the film industry, and whether they're an actor or they're famous or they're, you know, rich or poor or whatever it is. It's very, um, outside looking in. You know, there's so much outside looking in the movie industry. Until you're actually in it, you see what's going on. But Lance Kawas is a director in Michigan, and I met him right after doing the first big feature that I had a lead role in. And immediately I connected with this man, because he is such a humanitarian. He's so just honest and genuine, and he truly cares about making a beautiful movie, beautiful cinema. And like I said, he's just an amazing person, and that's a huge thing for me. No matter what you do, if you're a terrible person, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't work for me. So I would say that he's the guy that I call when I say, "Hey Lance, I have this opportunity," or "Hey Lance, what should I do here?" I really trust his opinion. I mean, he's very intelligent and he's a brilliant director, but he's also just a really good person, and he cares about the people around him. So I would say, my mentor in the industry at this point.
That's awesome, and that's so critically important to be surrounded by people that care about other people. And when Zach and I bring guests on every single week and we talk leadership, the number one theme that we always get from our guests is it's important to be surrounded by others that care about people and
Yeah.
put people first. So that's awesome to hear that. You've had a lot of awesome experiences, it sounds like, so far early on in your career. What do you enjoy most about the job?
Oh man. Um, Honestly, it's going to sound crazy, but I love the intensity of it. I love how busy and how fast and how impressive the work is. People don't really understand what fully goes into making a movie. It's sort of hard to understand until you see it firsthand. Um, and I just love that it's really hard work. I've just always been a hard worker. That's like just something that was built into me from my dad, um, and the work gets me excited because we're always doing something. We're always doing something different. We're always really putting all of our energy and soul into whatever we're doing, and it's fun. It's not it's not where you go home and you're like, oh my god, I can't do this. It doesn't drive you down in a physical, mental manner, like something you would do if you're not enjoying it. So as much as we have extremely long days, sometimes we have extreme amount of work in a 12 hours day, it is fun, and we're around people. When you film a movie, you become a family. You see the same people every day, and you're all working towards one perfect goal, and you just become a unit and a family, and you just create these relationships that I think is a much different dynamic than uh, other professions. It's weird, but it honestly, every movie I've ever done, on the last day, we're all sad because we're like best friends and we're brothers and we're sisters. And it's just, that's my favorite part, is the connectivity in the industry is just so incredibly strong.
That's awesome to hear. Um, One last question we'll wrap it up with tonight, Bobby, with you here is, as we mentioned, Zach and I talk a lot about leadership on our podcast here, and one of my good friends that I've been friends with for almost a decade now, Nate Kopp, got me hooked on a leader, and his name is Simon Sinek, and he's really big on people finding their why, and his stuff I think is very powerful and important, and I'm a big believer that every person has a why and has something that they were put on this earth to do. And it seems like that's what you're doing right now, doing what you were put on this earth to do. You're definitely pursuing your passion. There's a lot of people in the world that really don't like their job and don't like what's going on right now. What sort of advice can you give to somebody who has a passion, maybe for a specific industry, but doesn't necessarily feel like they know how to get into it, or don't think that they can? What sort of advice would you give somebody to really pursue your passion and do what you're meant to do?
This is a very intellectually deep question, because there's so many variables in life that people might be dealing with that might hinder their ability to do things. I was blessed with an amazingly supportive family, who, when I would jump off my roof onto my trampoline, as much as my mom hated watching it, she said, okay, well, apparently this is what you are going to do. And that was a very strong thing, that I had. So other people who have this mentality where something might be stopping them, or they feel like they can't do something, my advice is, forget it. Don't think about what other people want or what you can't think you can't do. Um, I want to really hone into this, because this is very important. And what I tell people is, doing what you love and want to do, it is extremely sacrificial. You need to give up so much, and you need to take extreme risks that will scare the crap out of you. I mean, it's going to scare you to death to say, can I really do this? And will this work? Well, the only way you find out is if you do it. And that's a big thing, is you take the leap of faith. And I know that's like such a cliche thing to say, but no matter how you're feeling or whatever it is, learn what you can, as much as you can. Know that that's really what you want to do. You need to know that. I mean, if you have a passion, there's nothing in the world stopping you from doing it. You just need, the only thing stopping you is you. So you need to break that barrier and literally take that leap of faith, no matter how scary it is. And I can speak of experience. There's been plenty of times where I just hopped in my truck and I drove 16 hours away, and I had barely any money in my pocket. And I said, I really hope that this works. And you make it work. You have to do the things necessary to pursue your passion. And it's a scary thing, but everybody has the ability to do it. It's all up here. And that's really the best advice I can give, is just go for it. Like 100% do what you want to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff, Bobby. And thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. We know you got an extremely busy schedule. So we appreciate the time that you gave to us. You shared a lot of valuable information. You mentioned the importance of having fun and enjoying what you do, and really just going after everything with 100% commitment, right? And I loved what you mentioned early on when we talked in that first question. You mentioned something that really stood out to me, and it was back with that first gig that you saw driving through Mount Clemens. You just jumped in and said, what can I do? And I think that's the first thing right there. So many people sit back and hope opportunities come to them. You certainly didn't do that. You dove right in. And I think that's a good piece of advice that everybody can learn from. But thank you again for coming on with us. I've really enjoyed following your journey. You mentioned your family too. You've got a wonderful support system. I absolutely love and adore your entire family. I've known you guys for about 7 or 8 years now. So keep up the great work out there. Keep doing awesome things and keep living out your dream.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Al. It was great to see you. Great to talk to you. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And I hope to see you soon, Al.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, Bobby. We appreciate it.